I would like to go to Jackie in Mississippi. Jackie wants to discuss the case for religious ritual and behavior as a positive transformation. So, Jackie, you are up with Jimmy and Seth. How are you doing today, Jackie?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Great, great. Yeah, so no pronouns given. I don't want to be disrespectful. Is there some way that you like to be referred to?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
All right. Well,
but
yeah, I took over the last call. I think I'm going to kick this one over to Seth. So you go ahead. Talk to us about what you want to discuss.
So basically, are either of you guys familiar with either Michel Descartes or Mircea Eliade?
No.
How about you, Seth?
I'm not sure I understood the question. Can you say it again for me?
I said, do either of you guys know who Michel Descartes or Mircea Eliade are or were?
Do not. No.
So Michel Descartes and Mircea Eliade were both scholars and philosophers of religion who dealt with questions about how people engage with religious ritual and how it relates to their ontology and their method of being in the world. So basically, Michel Descartes' theory, and he was a French Jesuit psychoanalyst, philosopher, historian, etc., and he basically believed that religious tactics are methods of embodied resistance to problems facing in the world, and by participating in religious ritual, they can sort of elevate themselves up to transcendent being as a method of escape from the problems of everyday life. And the way I would integrate it with Mircea Eliade's thought was Mircea Eliade was a Romanian-American historian of religion who believed that religious rituals are basically a method of embodying sacred time in the profane world. So many people have a linear view of time where they believe time is basically a series of events over a linear course, whereas Eliade believed that there are these basically, you could say, Platonic ideals or archetypes, like Jungian archetypes, which by participating in religious ritual, you're embodying these sacred events into, a new time. So like instead of time being this linear progression of events, it's these collection of sacred events which are sort of always happening when you participate in a religious ritual. And basically what I would argue is that when you participate in a religious ritual, whether it's Christianity or Judaism or whatever, basically the essential idea is that you're trying to take these enactments in order to connect to these sacred being or to transform yourself in a positive embodied direction, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'll respond, Jimmy. If I go off I have a lot of thoughts here. So I'm going to take my time a little bit with this, if I may. Jackie, I think this description of what religion does is a bit reductive. If we look at religion and the origins of our religions, we see them as, first of all, coalescers, if that's a word, for tribes of non-kin. So when you're surviving on the African savanna and you weren't direct family members, we saw there were religions that were binders of human beings into tribes, which helped them to survive and thrive. We see religions filling in the blanks of human knowledge throughout our history. This was not an attempt to elevate us to a more sacred space. It was more fear and trepidation about the unknown, or just not being satisfied with not knowing. And so we just decided, where the elements came from and what the stars were and what the gods wanted. I think that religion is a word that encompasses so much, whether it's a theistic, a deistic, a secular religion. But I want to say this. I have come to the point now where I do see religious ritual as having utility. People respond to structure. They love customs and traditions. There is a wonderful sort of it's a framework for the human experience where we get together. We are doing something in a specific order. We get communal music, which fires up the endorphins, which are a pleasure and a bonding agent with our fellow human beings, greater connection to our shared humanity. It allows us to bind together to achieve common goals. And then we have to get into the discussions about, well, is this rooted in a belief in non-rational theistic claim, or is it something like the Satanic Temple, or maybe Houston Oasis? Some of these groups that get together where they're non-theistic. Half of practicing Jews either don't believe or have strong doubts about even the existence of God. I mean, freaking half of people who identify in Judaism don't buy it, or they have real doubts about it. But it's the aesthetic and the structure, the customs, the traditions, and all of these elements of the religion that feed something in them as human beings. So I think, it's an extremely complex issue. I actually like the idea of incorporating a kind of religious type structure into the human experience, but I don't think that necessarily is an attempt to elevate us in every instance. Does that make any sense? I know I was trying to encompass a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just one question. Did you say practicing Jews?
People who identify.
Or did you say Jews in general?
People who identify as.
That's the case. To my understanding, there are a lot of people who are of Jewish heritage and in their ethnicity, but not necessarily doctrinally religious.
I mean, we see, though, an entire culture where you will find that the Orthodox and the fundamentalist, the people who are really engaged in a very fundamentalist way. But I think more often, or at least as often, we find people who are engaging in Jewish rituals, customs, and traditions as a matter of binding and structure, and something that allows them to it's window dressing on the human experience. And I don't think that is their attempt to elevate themselves above other people. I think it's simply the comfort of structure, something that they use to bind each other together. Forgive me, go ahead.
When I said elevate, I didn't mean to elevate themselves as other people. What I mean is reenact events that happen consistently in sacred time into the profane temporal world. So for Elliot,
whoa, hang on. Yeah, profane. Did you say profane temporal world?
Yes, it's trying to engage in acts of sacred time to escape out of profane time.
Okay, what I want to do is to draw us back from this esoteric language to try to speak in real world terms. I don't understand what those terms mean. Can you explain them to me?
Well, just to use an example, for example, if a Christian participates in an Easter ritual, it's like it's like the act of Jesus being crucified and resurrecting. That's happening during the Easter ritual. It's like this sacred event being reenacted over and over and over again. Or in Judaism, for example, you have Shabbat, which is supposed to be the reenactment of the creation of the world, happening over and over and over again, and the world is being recreated over and over and over again for Jews every Saturday, or religious Jews, rather.
I don't know that when I was engaged
in the profane temple world.
When I was a devout Christian engaged in Easter rituals, whether it was a reenactment of the Passion or whatever, I never saw it as sort of reinvigorating through sacred time, an event that happened 2,000 years ago. It was more a commemoration and an honoring of the God who had sacrificed himself. We didn't feel like we were keeping the crucifixion alive as much as remembering, honoring, and giving gratitude for the sacrifice that was made. But religions come in squillions of forms. So I think it's a bit reductive to say religion is. I think these are individual instances. And so we have to go and say, well, what motivates them? And what motivates them and them, person by person, religion by religion?
Yes, but I would say most religions, at least that I know of, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, even Eastern religions, or indigenous pagan religions in Europe or wherever, almost all of them have a concept that when you participate in a certain form of ritual, you're reenacting an event from the past, which is sacred, and you have a cyclical understanding of time as opposed to a linear understanding of time. Whether it's a cyclical liturgy or whether it's a cyclical form of ritual, there's always a concept that you have this event, and then you have this ideal of the event being reenacted over and over and over again in a cyclical manner. For example, in, say, pagan traditions in Europe before Christianity was there, when you would have a sacrifice to the gods, a lot of the times it would be a reenactment of a previous event they believed the gods engaged in. So you have this event that Zeus or Jupiter or Wotan engaged in, and now we're going to reenact what they did, which is what the pagans thought. So I would argue that this concept that we're going to reenact these cyclical, sacred ideals in time is pretty universal across religions.
So I'm not sure what, and forgive me, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I'm not sure what we're achieving by landing on that conclusion. So what, respectfully, like, so what, let's say you're right, and time and all of us through our rituals are admitting that time is cyclical. So what? I don't know how this moves the needle on anything if I'm trying to understand the legitimacy of a given religion. Now, on that note, you called in and said that it's a positive transformation, and that you also mentioned that these sacred acts are positive and take people away from the profane. But you also then say, well, they're doing these sacred acts to kind of commemorate things that have happened, and sometimes those things are human sacrifice. Well, how is that positive? That's not positive for everybody in that situation, right? These acts could actually be incredibly profane on their own and not positive at all. So correct me if I'm losing you. I'm sorry. There's kind of a lot going on here, but what I want to harken back to is the case that religious behavior is a positive transformation. I don't see it that way. I don't see religion being positive necessarily, although it does have utility. I'll agree on that note. What are your thoughts there, Jackie?
Well, so there are certainly religious rituals which are negative, but what I would say is within Judeo-Christian tradition, the rituals are a way for individuals to connect with positive being with a capital B. I would say that when people navigate their lives,
how do you know that though?
Of everyday life.
How do you look at some of the behaviors of, let's say, Christians? Let's say Christianity in the colonization of North America. Were they just using Christianity as a way to get ahead, as a way to justify their slaughter and their enslavement of people? Or were they doing those things because the Bible said it was okay and they were trying to connect with God? I mean, which one? You're a smart person. I mean, which one is more likely?
I don't think you're understanding what I'm arguing. I'm not saying that individual Christians or religious Jews can't use their religion in a negative way. I would say colonization is actually more nuanced than most people have said, and there were benefits of colonization, even if the tactics used or strategies for us used were unacceptable. But what I'm saying is the modality of being with a capital B prescribed in the Judeo-Christian scripture, when enacted through ritual, allows individuals to bring the sacred into the temporal world and to navigate their experience, whether it's through mourning ritual, whether it's the emphasis on the spirit of call to adventure, whether it's the idea that the individual is sovereign because of their imbuement with dignity during the primordial time of creation. These archetypes are based.
Yeah, Jackie, forgive me stepping in. I certainly believe that there are people that think they are connecting with their God by participating in rituals. Where I digress or where I depart from what you're saying is it's not positive, right? It's not a positive transformation, usually, in my opinion. But B, that doesn't move the needle anywhere any closer to what I want to know is, are these things real? Are these religions real? I mean, how do we get closer to that?
Real?
Are they true? Are they true? Are they true? I mean, come on. It doesn't make that God any more real, right?
Can I just frame it like this? Is the superstructure, using Levi-Straussian terms, that religion is based off of, when expressed throughout various human cultures, basically positive? Does it provide a modality of being which... Okay, and here's why I'm wrong. So in the So, like I said, when Matteo Eliade talked about bringing these sacred events out of the temporal world, let's look at some claims of the modality of being with capital B, the Judeo-Christian scriptures make. So, do you believe that honoring community is the basis for healthy reciprocal relationships? Or honoring your parents, for example, is the basis for healthy reciprocal relationships?
I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know why that matters. I don't know.
Because
I don't know.
Because if being with a capital B demands you to honor your parents and such will bring flourishing prosperity, then perhaps you should listen to being with a capital B.
No. So all right. So because there, and this is why I'm asking, well, how do we know that this is a fact, that this is factual, that there is a being with a capital B? First of all, this thing is commanding me to honor my parents. Now, my parents I love and they're wonderful people, but there are parents out there that are horrible. And there's no instruction on what people are supposed to do if their parents are absolutely awful people. That is a horrible instruction for somebody to just say, hey, go honor your parents because I said so. And I think we're getting a little off topic here, but I mean, I'm glad that we're uncovering a little bit of the, I guess the tangibles of your religion. Right now we're starting to talk about, hey, there's this thing and it says you should do this and here's why, right? I just think that's a poor argument. But we are digressing a little bit, Jackie. And so what I want to do, since we're changing subjects now, I want to give other callers a chance to speak up. I really appreciate your call today. And I encourage you to call back now that we're moving and we're kind of digressing a little bit. Call back. We have the Atheist Experience on this afternoon, and we are here every Sunday at 1 p.m. Seth, did you want to say anything else to Jackie before we get going?
No, I don't have anything. And I worry that we've sort of glazed everybody in the viewing audience over because it's just such an abstract and overbroad, and I find uncompelling. Like, I'm not sure exactly what's the point.
Yeah,
I
me either.
I'm not sure what why would it, I don't really know what we're supposed to extract from all of that. So I am happy to move on.